Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Mother Devahuti, she very attentively has heard the instructions given by her son Kapila Muni regarding the practice of Bhakti Yoga. After all of these instructions, she has heard it very carefully, and now in her home she is practicing it very rigorously. If we see the life of Devahuti, generally many of us, we complain. Some of us complain that maybe in my young age my father left me, or my mother passed away, or some parents speak in this way, my children, they left me, no one to take care of me. So all of such things we hear. Now just see what the Bhagavatam is speaking of. What happened in the life of Mother Devahuti. She was not an ordinary woman. She was the daughter of Emperor Swayambhuva Manu. He was the emperor, and Devahuti, she was his daughter. She is the princess. When she was young, she was made to marry Kardama Muni. She selected Kardama Muni as her husband. So what happened at that time? She was the princess living in the palace of the king, of the emperor, and immediately after her marriage, she had to give up all the palatial royal opulences and come to the hermitage of Kardama Muni, a small hut with not much facilities, no servants. So she could have complained, I was the princess with all royal comforts. How can I see what happened in my life? Everything I had to leave, and I have to stay somewhere in the forest in some hut with without basic facilities also. But she did not complain. She was very happy serving her husband, the great sage Kardama Muni. Okay, that one incident took place, lot of austerities she took up, well and good. But is that all? No. As soon as she begot a son, that is Kapila Muni, what happened next? Her husband, Kardama Muni, left home, left her. Again she could have complained, the only son is there, my husband, he has left home, what can I do, how can I survive? No. She continued to raise her son, and her son is not an ordinary person. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself, in His incarnation of Kapila, appeared as the son of Mother Devahuti. And he grew up, and after he grew up, Mother Devahuti took instructions from her grown-up son. Kapila Muni, having compassion towards his mother, very affectionate towards his mother, very beautifully, elaborately explained to her the principles of Bhakti Yoga. See, all these specific terminologies are being used. Kapila Muni being very affectionate towards his mother. What did he do? He instructed her in spiritual science, the practice of spiritual life for self-realization. After instructing her, then what happened? That's what we are seeing here. Even Kapila Muni left home, left his mother, and he came out of the home. So here we see how in the life of Mother Devahuti, what all she had to face. She had to give up all the royal comforts of the palace of her father Swayambhuva Manu. She had to undergo the pain of being separated from her husband Kardama Muni, and later she had to face the separation from her son also. After all of these incidents in her life, what is she doing? Sachapi tanayoktena. Tanaya means her son. Tanaya uktena. After hearing the instructions given by her son, that's referring to Kapila Muni, Yoga deshena yoga yuk. Her son Kapila Muni instructed in the practice of Bhakti Yoga, the yoga which connects a living entity with the Supreme Lord. And she was fully conversant with that, and she practiced it. She applied it. Yoga Yuk. Yoga Yuk means being engaged in yoga or Bhakti Yoga. And by this what happened? Tasmin ashrama apide. The ashrama of Kardama Muni, which he had built, he has left home. Now the mother and son, they were staying there, and his son also left home. Now she is practicing the principles of Bhakti Yoga there in that ashrama. Because of her practice of Bhakti Yoga, how did that ashrama appear? It is said here, Apide Sarasvatya Samahita. Because of her exalted devotional practices, Samahita means, Srila Prabhupada writes, fixed in Samadhi. Because of that, the entire ashrama appeared like a crown on the banks of river Saraswati. It appeared very beautiful, very pleasing due to her stringent practice of Bhakti Yoga. So here we see various points Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport, that a woman in her childhood, she is under the protection of her father. And then she is given away in charity to a suitable boy, her husband, who takes charge of her. And then after the husband leaves home taking sannyasa, then she is kept under the care of her grown-up sons. So this is the Varnashrama system. Here we see Kardama Muni left home, Kapila Muni left home. It's not that Devahuti also left home. No, that's not recommended for women. They have to stay at home, practice devotional life at home. But for men, specifically it is said, Pancha Shordhvam Vanam Vrajet. After the age of 50, one should detach from household life. He should travel to places of pilgrimage, associate with saintly people, learn how to practice devotional life, start preparing for death, which one or the other day everyone has to face. And once he is well situated in his spiritual practices, then he takes up sannyasa up till death and travels around to preach the knowledge, the instructions which he has received for the mass of people, for the welfare of the society. So this was how the society was organized. These are the value systems what we see. A man is encouraged not to become fully attached to or become entangled in his family affairs. What is required as a matter of duty, taking care of the wife, taking care of children, and since they are his dependents, it's a great responsibility on the shoulder of that man, of the husband, of the father, to see to it that his dependents are trained in spiritual life. They should be trained sufficiently so that this life should be their last in this material world. They should be trained sufficiently to become eligible to go back to Godhead. That's the responsibility of the father, the husband, the teacher, and leaders of the society. So this responsibility is there. So any person up to 50 years, 75 years maximum, whatever, they leave home, and some of them, even in their earlier days, if they are ready for this, they are being encouraged. They are not discouraged, but encouraged. Because all of these practices, especially this human form of life, is meant for tapasya. For performing tapasya, for performing devotional life, spiritual life, if you feel your family life is comfortable for that purpose, if it is favorable for that purpose, then no problem living with the family. It's not recommended that you have to come out, no. If the family circumstances are favorable, a person is encouraged. But if it is not favorable, then he is not encouraged to continue there. Because what will happen? Always the material body, the material senses seek for comforts, more and more sense gratification. It always tries to go in for seeking more and more objects of sense gratification, which has to be curtailed. That's a life of animals. They are like that. Ahara, nidra, bhayamaitunam cha. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. If a human being also works, engages his time, energy, everything in the pursuit of increasing these comforts of material life, then he is no better than an animal. So this is never encouraged in the Vedic culture. The primary focus is on spiritual cultivation of spiritual knowledge and its practice. Whatever is favorable for that, we have to accept it. Whatever is unfavorable for that, we have to reject it. Because attachment to family, it is not fully favorable for devotional life. Because all those relationships are temporary. Father, mother, husband, wife, son, daughter, all these relationships are temporary. Today it will be there. Within few years, what will happen? Nobody knows. At the point of death, everything has to be cut off. Another new set of relationships will start, taking up another body. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Gatir Bharta Prabhu Sakshi Nivasa Sharanam Suhrit. He is the ultimate shelter. He is the ultimate friend. Pitaham Asya Jagato Mata Dhata Pitamaha. I am the father. I am the mother. I am the grandsire. So, we have to accept these instructions. Now, somehow we have been put into this material conditioning. So, whatever as a matter of duty required, our obligations towards our parents, children, and all of them, to the country, to the community, as much as possible we need to do and focus on our spiritual life. And whatever duty or responsibility we feel towards our nation, community, family, that should be centered around helping them to progress in their spiritual life. Not simply whatever for the maintenance, eating, sleeping, so all those things are there. But that's not the ultimate. The ultimate thing or the perfectional stage is when we offer good instruction, good counsel of spiritual instructions, and help people, encourage everybody to advance in their relationship with the Supreme Lord. That's the real help we can do for our parents, children, community people, country people, everybody. So here, the same thing, it's explained here how Lord Kapila, it is said here, Lord Kapila performed as soon as her son grew up, her husband left home, and similarly the son, after discharging his duty towards his mother, also left. So it is clearly said here, Lord Kapila, after discharging his duty towards his mother, what was that duty which he discharged? What was it? Giving instructions, yes. It is not said here, he performed his duty of nicely feeding her, taking care of her, and her comforts. Of course, that's also a part. But more than that, Lord Kapila, his giving of spiritual instructions related to practice of spiritual life, the Bhakti Yoga, see, that after discharging his duty, he also left home. Another point let us discuss, which is Yoga Deshena Yoga Yuk. Sachapi Tanayoktena Yoga Deshena. Yoga Deshena means by the instruction on yoga. The way Kapila Muni instructed his mother Devahuti, and she very attentively heard it and practiced it, applied it in her life. Similarly, we hear in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, he accepts Krishna as his spiritual master. Shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. I surrender to you. I accept you as my spiritual master. I am your disciple. Kindly instruct me. I am completely bewildered. What to do, what not to do. Should I fight or should I not fight? I am completely bewildered. This indecision Arjuna expresses in front of Lord Krishna. In the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, in the 2nd chapter, we see this. Shri Krishna Balarama ki. And then, after hearing all the instructions given by Lord Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, at the end, what does Arjuna say? My dear Lord, Tvat prasadena, by your mercy, Stitosmi gata sandehaha, all my doubts have been vanquished. My illusion is cleared up. And then, Karishye vachanam tava. Stitosmi gata sandehaha, Karishye vachanam tava. My dear Lord, I will follow whatever instruction you have given. Krishna repeatedly he says, Mam anusmara yudhyacha, Atishta uttishta parantapa, stand up and fight. So these were the specific instructions of Krishna. Arjuna accepts it and he says, Karishye vachanam tava. So likewise here is the secret of advancement in our spiritual life. The way Devahuti accepted the instructions from Lord Kapila, the way Arjuna accepted the instructions from Lord Krishna, we also have to accept the instructions of our spiritual master and be prepared to apply it in our life with all seriousness and sincerity. To the best of our capacity, we need to follow the instructions. Especially those instructions, like we say, standing instructions, which we have taken during the time of initiation, to chant a prescribed number of rounds, to follow the regulative principles, and of course all of the other instructions related to our sadhana, related to our services, related to our development of our devotional attitude, change of consciousness, purification of the heart. So all of these instructions a disciple has to strictly follow. This is the secret of success in our spiritual life. How strictly we are adhering to the instructions given by our spiritual master. That's where the success of our spiritual life lies. That's why, as a part of our sadhana, every day, regularly we are supposed to hear, read, again and again. We need to remind ourselves of these instructions. Because this material world of Maya, we are put into forgetfulness. One day we hear, we are fully charged, we make commitments, and then after a few days, we may tend to forget it. We may become very busy or involved in so many of our material activities, duties, that we may forget all of these things. So, regularly we have to hear. Every day we have to hear. It is most important. And it is said how, if we are sincere, if we are serious, see, many of the instructions given, especially in the Bhagavad Gita, maybe as of today, I may not be in a position to apply all of them. I may be incapacitated. My inability to follow all of them. But at least if we sincerely hear repeatedly, again and again, the power, the energy or the Shakti which is required to follow those instructions also come from those instructions itself. See, that's the potency of the descending process. Ultimately, everything is coming from the supremely energetic personality, Lord Krishna. He has given those instructions, and if we simply, with all eagerness, sincerity and seriousness, try to follow, eager to follow, repeatedly, make all the required adjustments and everything possible from our end to follow them, yes, the Lord will help us. Tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham, Krishna says. And tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. The Lord promises that I will give the required intelligence, whatever required, to help him develop or come up in his spiritual life. So with all faith in such instructions, we should become more serious, more sincere and enthusiastic in hearing the instructions and trying to apply them in our life. We will ask one more point, with this we'll cover, we'll end. Here it is said how the entire ashrama of Kardama Muni, where now Devahuti is residing, it appeared like a flower crown on the banks of river Saraswati. What's the reason for that? That ashrama or that hermitage, it's not a very palatial building, it's not a skyscraper building or one big bungalow with a huge compound and nothing. It's a simple hermitage, a cottage built of very gross materials, things which are available in the forest, but still it appeared very beautiful. The reason is, Srila Prabhupada says in the last sentence of the purport, she remained at home and began to practice Bhakti Yoga as it was instructed by her great son Kapila Muni. And because of her practice of Bhakti Yoga, the entire home became just like a flower crown on the river Saraswati. The way Mother Devahuti practiced it. Similarly, if we also practice the Bhakti Yoga, the way given by our spiritual master, every day chanting our prescribed rounds, performing Sankirtana in the association of devotees, hearing the message of Srimad Bhagavatam regularly, engaging all of our senses in the service of the Lord, accepting the remnants of food offered to the Lord, the prasadam. Through all of these spiritual practices, the place where we reside will also become very beautiful. We need to remember, every day we sing in the evening, Gaura Arati, Shiva, Shuka, Narada, Preme, Gada Gada, Bhakati Vinoda Dekhe, Gaurara Sampada. If these practices are strictly implemented, devotees participate in all of these things enthusiastically, with devotion, even the great devatas, they'll become very pleased looking at such practices. And Bhakti Vinod Thakur, in his song, he says how Jedina bhajana dekhi grihete goloka bhaya. The day he sees bhajana or devotional practices, the Sankirtana in his home, it appears as if his home now is being converted to Goloka Vrindavana. See, this is the perspective. So it's not required for us to go here and there. So wherever these practices are there, and somehow by the mercy of our spiritual master Srila Prabhupada, this facility is created for us. Actually, we are not eligible, by His grace, but by His causeless mercy, we are recipient of this facility. So to the best possible manner, we need to engage ourselves in all of these spiritual activities, make our life and the place we reside very beautiful. So we'll conclude with this. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki,